Okay. So
I've got 8 questions. Let me make it 10, okay?
well, I can just talk, can't I? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can just go off onto a thing to give you loads
just
of.
let me
Yeah.
put 2 questions more.
I mean, the questions are just the guide, aren't they? Because I could talk for hours and hours, and
I got a lot of space on my phone, but we are on a curfew. Hope you can read my writing.
are you thinking of using the audio to actually produce something?
I don't know yet.
Yeah. Hope it's not incriminating.
No, try to be gentle.
I'll end up on a
Gentle but funny.
porn site.
Just read it through.
So
them.
maybe you can ask me the question and I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can
So-
just improvise. You know.
Yeah. So
Doesn't need to be really. You know.
for the first question, I just want to ask you about.
Just hit record. Go for it.
It is.
Is it? All right.
It is on. Yeah.
So you see what a rude bastard I am. Then.
Yeah, and so, can you tell me your full name? Do you have a second name, or just Sam Jones?
My full name is Samuel Thomas Jones.
And when and where you were born?
These are really boring questions.
I know.
I was born in Chester, which is in England, and I grew up in a village called Harden, which is in Wales.
Okay.
And throughout history, Harden had been in England and Wales, I think at least twice. So the original name of the the name of the county when I grew up in Wales and moved there originally. Can I start again?
Yeah.
So I was born in Chester, which is in England. It's on the England-Wales border. My dad is also from Chester, but I actually grew up in Wales, firstly in a place called Connah's Quay, and then I moved to a place called Harden, which is quite posh in comparison to Connah's Quay. That was when I was 6 years old, so that was 1986. And Harden's an interesting place because it's been in both England and Wales.
Like on the border?
Yeah.
Like a greenish on the 2 hemispheres?
Sort of. So the county, because we have counties in the UK,
Yeah.
is now called Flintshire, which was the original English name for the county. But when I moved there, it was in a place called Clwyd, which is a Welsh name. So it's still the same county, but they reverted to the original name. And there's even a castle there, which was bombed by the Welsh, even though the place is in Wales. So when it was in England, it was bombed by the Welsh.
Friendly fire?
No, because they were actually the opposition.
Yeah.
So quite an interesting place, and now I've been back to visit a few times since I moved to London and then here to Poland, and it's become quite a sort of exclusive place, like you say gentrified.
Okay.
But when I grew up there, it was just this sort of.
Can you talk about your parents?
Don't really want to talk about my parents.
Do they still live there?
No, they don't. They moved to Llandudno, which is in sort of deep Wales on the coast, North Wales, where people speak Welsh. And
do you visit?
I visited a few times. Yeah.
When was the last time you visited?
Christmas
Christmas.
in
So
December.
holidays only?
Yeah, I was there for New Year's as well, with a loaner actually, and you don't need to put stuff like these small things in that. But
Can you talk about primary school?
primary school.
The same place you were born?
No, it was I went to 2 primary schools. I went to one in Shotton, I think, which is near to Connors Quay, my first address. And then I moved, oh no, sorry, that was infant school. I went to primary school in Harden. And here's an interesting fact for you. Because I joined infant school halfway through in Harden when I moved there. And when I was in that infant school, primary school and high school in Harden, 3 different schools, I was in school with Michael Owen, the footballer who became very famous. He was in my year at all 3 schools. Michael Owen.
I don't know this name.
He played for England and Liverpool, and he scored a goal in the World Cup. I watched it on TV. That was the first.
Is he retired as a player?
Yeah, he's kind of retired now. Yeah.
Okay. What about high school? Where did?
Went to Harden High School, which is just a state school, nothing special.
Your first love, boy or girl?
But it was it's actually Matt. Matt, yeah.
So recent one. No, I'm talking about your first love. Do you remember her? Your first kiss.
I don't really want to talk about stuff like that, to be honest. Can we talk about music?
I want to know you.
Can I talk about my music?
Yeah, the next question is when the journey with music started. Can you say more? How, when, where?
Right, okay.
Your first instrument?
Yeah, so it goes back a lot further than people realise. Like when I say people who may know a little bit about my music, they probably assumed that I started playing guitar as a kid and just carried on, and that's what I'm still doing now. But it's not quite so straightforward. I was born deaf, as far as I'm aware. I had an operation on my ears where they put grommets into your ears, and I regained my hearing around the age of 3, and I'm guessing that was when I started to take an interest in music. So I had a little toy keyboard, and I used to play my grandpa's keyboard as well and try and match up notes, and I got quite obsessed with going to visit my grandpa so I could use the keyboard. And I also used to hit pots and pans with building blocks. Yeah, and I became quite into rhythm. But my dad was a drummer, so I think that's where that came from. But during my childhood, I used to rock quite a lot, like this.
Yeah.
And I think it was because I was deaf, and a lot of deaf people do it. So I actually ended up having like half a drum kit bought for me for my Christmas present. It was around my 7th birthday. I never really learned to play the drums properly with a bass drum and that, because my family could never afford to buy me a bass drum or a full drum set. So I used to mess around with drums. Then I started playing violin with a school violin group. I played recorder and all that. And me and another kid called Tim Jones, we played violin in this group, and we were sort of better than everyone else. We were still crap, but we were like better than the rest of the people, and we used to
stand out of the crowd.
Yeah, and the school got me like a brand new violin because we lent the violins from the school, and I had this really awful one that I couldn't play, and I ended up playing it with a paper clip like a guitar, and then eventually ended up wanting a guitar because of that, or a bass. I think the day that I went to buy a guitar, because my grandpa offered to lend me money for a guitar, I had to pay him the money back for it, and my parents wouldn't have anything to do with it. I think I was...
Your first guitar you bought with the money?
My grandpa went with me to the shop and lent me the money, because...
what kind of a guitar was it?
It was an electric guitar, but I think I was even considering buying a bass on the day, and then I ended up with a guitar. and because my grandpa had been involved with music as well as my dad, and he had stage managed a theatre called the ABC in Chester, and there was a chain of these ABC theatres all over the UK.
So we can say for sure that music ran in your family.
Well, sort of, but it was pretty much my obsession that led to it, and there wasn't much encouragement really. My dad took me to see the Rolling Stones when I was 10, and I think it stuck in, it like etched on my brain that you could do it as a job.
Okay, so can I ask you about your favorite bands when you were young? Like,
yeah, before I started playing guitar, I was mad on the Rolling Stones, The Cure, Eurythmics. So I can remember listening to Eurythmics and playing Lego.
wow.
So I'd just be playing Lego and I would be trying to memorise lyrics, and you used to get a cassette tape with all the lyrics in it, and because they used to make a real effort in those days to give you lots of information.
Yeah, like a little book with lyrics, yeah.
So I'd just learn all the lyrics and stuff, and I was mad on Annie Lennox and Dave Stewart. And
was it your first love, then Annie Lennox then?
no, not really.
No,
but I got Revenge, the album, which was new at the time, because I got a good school report, and that was my first proper album. My parents bought it me on cassette tape, and it was like a really fashionable album, and the cover was really like avant-garde, and that it's quite weird really if you think about it. I was only 6 and I was really into all that.
Okay, but then you started playing guitar and your music taste changed, or?
Yeah, because I remember my dad said to me, oh, you'll get into heavy metal now, and I said I don't think so, and he said, oh yeah, we'll see. And I got really into Hendrix, like obsessively into Hendrix, and I collected.
Master of the guitar.
Yeah, kind of. And I had a guitar teacher who was mad on Hendrix, and he had stuff down note for note. So he would teach me all. He would like even be able to play like the Isle of Wight festival version of a song. He had them like down to a T, and he would.
Can you tell me a little bit about the relations with your teacher?
Well, I used to just go for weekly guitar lessons in his shop, and he was a Marshall amp dealer. And Jim Marshall, who created Marshall amps, who's also taken some very famous pictures of Jimi Hendrix, whose middle name was Marshall, just by coincidence. It was James Marshall Hendrix.
Mm-hmm.
He came to this place, this town, very, very small town in Wales, where I had my guitar lessons, and I actually was introduced to Jim Marshall, and I've got a picture of him with me and him, and he signed a t-shirt for me.
Can you send me this picture?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this Dave, his name was, this guitar teacher, so he was, I wouldn't say he was an influence on me, but he taught me how to work out songs, and I suppose he gave me a bit of a platform for my guitar lessons, which I started years later when I moved to London.
Have you used music notes or just played by the ear?
No, just by ear, and this string and fret method where you write the number of the string and then the number of the fret.
Okay. Yeah, I know.
So it's like tab, but it's written as you would read tab. And he taught me that, and I would just watch him working stuff out and learn how to do it, and then I passed that on to my pupils, because I taught guitar in London for 11 years, 2000 from
when
2005. 2005.
Okay.
So I moved to London in 2004, unemployed. I didn't have any job prospects. I didn't know what I was going to do. And one of my friends who I was staying with at one point said to me, "Why don't you teach guitar?" And I sort of said, "Yeah, okay, I'll give it a go." And I did this little advert that I typed up, and I think I put it in like a newsagent window, and I got quite a good response, and then I built it up from there. And then I was doing 2 or 3 guitar lessons a day.
Nice.
I'm charging quite a bit.
Different people?
Yeah.
So you met all kinds of people, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You told me before that you taught those special needs kids, right?
Yeah, by accident. And then when I moved here, they asked me back to do sort of support work using music. So then I wasn't really a guitar teacher anymore. I haven't really taught guitar since 2016.
Like a school?
No, I have worked in schools. I've worked in one school in London as a guitar teacher doing an after-school guitar class. But
So
it was just me.
Private lessons, right?
Yeah, visiting people's houses. But sometimes I had so many lessons that I would travel south of the river, north of the river, and then maybe go back south of the river again all in one day. And I'd sometimes do 12 lessons at the weekend on one day, on Saturday or Sunday.
Sounds tiring.
No, it was good. Lots of money, and it was like I was still playing guitar.
But a lot of work, a lot of communing.
Well, the lessons are 1 hour, so it was. I learnt to instinctively, like my body clock could time the hour. So if I had somebody who was quite a difficult pupil, I could sort of sense when the lesson was coming to an end, so it was fine. And then I had to just go on the dot and allow like 1 hour in between every lesson. So it was quite good because if it wasn't going so well, and then there were some people who I really looked forward to teaching, like teenagers and that, because they were really into it, you know, like I was when I was
Passion.
younger. Yeah.
Okay, let's get back to bands. After you started playing, you told about Hendrix, maybe other bands, other solo artists you were, looking up to?
Well, one thing led to another. So after I was massively into Hendrix and I collected all these weird bootlegs that you used to be able to get on cassette tape, because I think they sort of slipped the legal things somehow. So you were able to get these albums that said like Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy, and they'd spell his name differently and that. So I had like this huge collection of Hendrix things.
You still got it?
No.
What happened to it?
I just sold everything over the years. Then I got CDs and then I ended up selling the CDs. But I discovered the Sex Pistols, and then I got really into the punk thing and the Damned and the goth thing and all that. And I didn't really sort of look back on the Hendrix things so much. But now I'm just into everything that I've listened to over my life, plus new stuff.
The song that you played on video, right?
Yeah, New Rose. Yeah, that was the first official punk single, apparently. It wasn't really, but that's the way it was advertised. And actually, going back to the special needs things, one of the people who I work for, who I go back occasionally now and have been working with through music, they live on the same street that song was recorded. So as I leave the house in the morning to go and get some breakfast around the corner in a cafe, I'm passing this tiny little building, which was the studio where the Damned recorded their first album. It's just maybe like 6 or 7 doors away from where I stay.
Is it a kind of museum now?
No, it's a car garage.
A car garage?
A mechanic's garage, yeah.
Do they know?
Possibly, because a lot of people sort of stop and take pictures, and then around the corner again, you've got the old site of Wessex Studio, which is where the Sex Pistols recorded their album. That's the good thing about living in London, is you get to see all these places on a daily basis, and most people are not even aware,
Yeah.
And you've got famous people walking past you, and you don't, you might be looking at your phone or something, you don't realise, oh, that's the singer from Primal Scream, or oh, that fellow there, I've seen Andrew Lloyd Webber walking around and all sorts of people,
Okay, so after London, you've gone abroad? What countries have you lived in, visited?
Well,
before Poland?
Well, around 2012, first of all, when I moved to London in 2004, it was the Polish invasion in London, and I ended up living with a lot of Polish people in shared houses. And as a result of that, my curiosity got the better of me, and I ended up organising a tour of Poland in 2007. And I ended up with terrible food poisoning. So I only ended up doing one gig, but I stayed and I visited places, but I did one gig in Poznan.
Do you remember what you ate that you gave you this poison?
It was tap water. Tap water. So anyway, so the first place that I ever played abroad was in Poznan, in a place called Cafe Mięsa. Meat.
Yeah, meat. Cafe Mięso.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I played there, 2007. And then the year later, 2008, curiosity got the better of me again, and I had this fascination with islands, and I ended up doing a tour of the Isle of Man, which was another disaster, actually.
Have you got hit by a bike? They do races. The
TT.
Yeah,
the TT, yeah. So I went there, and it was a bit weird, and I ended up doing, I think, a total of 5 gigs there out of 20. Anyway, came back with my tail between my legs again. So this was my first attempt at doing tours and playing abroad, and so when I went to Poland, I went via France because I had the Interrail ticket, and I met quite a famous actress called Sarah Pratt, an American actress who moved to France when she was young. And that
movies she played in?
She was in a film called I've got it on DVD, but I can't remember the name of it now.
Okay.
But she was quite famous, in France, and so that was a taste of what could happen when you tour and when you do these things, you meet these people and these strange things happen. They're both really badly organised, and I suppose I was a bit nervous. I was a bit not prepared for them, and I wasn't very well travelled and all that. I'd been on a trip around Europe when I was 22 in 2002. I did the student thing, but other than that, but I had someone else with me for some of that.
Which countries you?
Austria, because I lived with an Austrian girl when I was a student for a couple of years. So I met up with her, and I was in Germany. I went to Hamburg and Berlin, and I can't remember where else. Anyway, so other than those 3 things, I'd attempted at doing it, and it kind of didn't really work out. So I went back to London, in between these things I was living in London. And then around 2012, this was when I sort of started looking into this properly, and there was a friend of mine from UK Subs who I recorded a track with, because I had actually met Charlie Harper. This is one of my famous stories. I met him in 2006 on a tube train.
Can you tell us a little bit about Charlie?
Yeah, so I met him because I'd seen UK Subs play, I think either the day before or 2 or 3 days before. And I said, "Oh, you're Charlie Harper, would you need a guitar player?" And he said, "Yes." So I ended up eventually recording a song with UK Subs in 2007, and he brought back the original bass player from UK Subs who we hadn't worked with. It was a side project called Charlie and the Truckers, which he'd used that name for kind of unofficial releases for UK Subs. So I was now a member of this Charlie and the Truckers stroke UK Subs project, which was quite a big deal, and he gave me a set list to learn songs, and I didn't know anything about UK Subs really. I'd seen them play a few times and blah blah blah. One of my friends was really into them, and anyway, so I later got into UK Subs a bit more and kept contact, and he ended up playing the harmonica on my track Hit the Floor for this project, the Berlin Lights and blah blah blah. So what was I talking about? So this bass player, Paul Slack, who I met in 2007 and continued to sort of keep contact with, he had this band which he joined. It was a Swedish girl on her own, and they used to go out as a two-piece, and they would play in all these like small bars in France and Belgium and Germany, and they were just doing this all the time, like gypsies living out of a suitcase. And I thought, oh, I fancy a bit of that, if I could earn a living doing that. So I started looking into it, and so I ended up going to France and Belgium quite a lot between 2012 up until sort of 2015. And I briefly played in a band called the Kinky Beats, with this voice finalist.
Kinky Beats.
The Kinky Beats, yeah.
Which beats you like the most of those Kinky Beats?
So, and I ended up teaming up with her, and we were playing in this cafe in Belgium quite a bit. So all of this inspired me to basically get off my arse and try and do things properly. So the proper tours, the European tours, started in 2016, and I did 2 in the same year.
3 years ago, right?
Yeah. So I did one in April, and then again in October, November.
Where?
All over. So Czech Republic, Italy, Netherlands, Germany, France, Poland, UK.
So you visited a lot of countries.
Yeah, I played anywhere I could get gigs. I tried to get as many gigs as possible. I tried putting the gigs in the as best order as possible, trying to get paid as much as I could for every gig.
It became your job, actually.
Well, I just went out for like 10 days to 2 weeks at a time. So I only did those 2. And that really raised my profile as like a solo touring entity or whatever. And that led me to live in Poland, because I met Ilona on the second one.
When?
In November of 2016. I ended up coming back here. But
to Toruń?
To Toruń, because I played in Toruń.
Was it the first time you came to Toruń?
No, it was the second time. I came here in April and I supported Jennifer Batten, and I did like a speech in a school with Jennifer Batten the day after the gig. I did 2 speeches, because I did a speech before the gig here as well. So I did a speech and a gig, and then a speech, and I played like a small gig in the school, both with Jennifer Batten. It was just me and her, really.
Okay, let's get back to meeting Ilona.
Yeah, I'd have to talk about that on here.
Okay, you just met her, and
Yeah.
she wanted you to come to Toruń, right?
Well, no, I went back to London, and I was pretty run down after the tour, and a room I'd been renting in Camden Town, more or less, Kentish Town, it's just right on the border of Camden Town. Camden Town sounds better. They'd given my room away because I'd sort of told them that I might be a few days late, and this place was actually B&B. I'd been living in this B&B on a contract. You had like a lot of builders and stuff working there, so it was a bit of a weird setup. But I'd gone from having my own flats to going back into living into rooms because of the massive rent increase in London. So I was still working as a guitar teacher, and I was doing these tours, and I was like putting my stuff into storage when I was doing these tours. And I had this place to live, and they gave my room away and that, and so I went back there, and I got this horrible neurovirus off the parents of one of my pupils. He passed me a cup of tea and said he'd been up all night with the shits and all this, and I ended up with it, and I was seriously ill, and ended up renting this room for a week or 2 from this nutty French woman in Highgate.
Naughty.
Nutty, like crazy.
Sex stuff.
No,
Okay.
just horrible person basically.
Okay.
Not to beat around the bush. There's a lot of these very desperate single types of people in London who are desperate for money, and they've been given flats by the government and they're on benefits and all that, and they basically use people to make money off, they're quite to the core. They might be quite nice people, but they just don't behave in that way, and I very often ended up having to rent rooms off these types of people in between having my own flats and being in some sort of stable setup as much as you can be as a musician and everything else.
Like a semi-setup.
Like a halfway house sort of thing, and I was quite often in these situations. So I'd met Ilona while I'd been in Poland, and she just sort of said, why don't you just come back here, so I did. It didn't take much thinking about it, and I'd already said to all my friends before I did this second tour of Poland, of Europe, that if I meet anyone or if anything happens, if there's any sort of hint of an opportunity to take me out of living in London, because I'd had enough after 12 years living there, then I was just going to jump at it. So I just tied off a few loose ends.
You were tired of London?
I was sick of London, yeah, and I just jumped at the chance to come to Toruń. And I'd already, before I'd even met Ilona, I'd actually, I knew somebody else from Toruń, from busking in Brussels. That was my introduction.
Busking meaning playing on the street?
Yeah, so I had a busking licence and everything. I'd spent a couple of years doing that and going over there and doing gigs with Belinda and all that stuff. And she said she was from Toruń, and that was one of the reasons I ended up trying to get some gigs here in that first tour of 2016. So I told them about...
Did?
Sorry?
Did you get any?
Yeah, because I did the Jennifer Batten thing and all that.
Oh, okay.
So I ended up with this chance of maybe coming to live here for like 6 weeks during summer and that, and it didn't happen in the end, but I was quite keen on Toruń, of all the places that I'd visited.
So which year you came here and stayed for a long time?
2016.
Okay. Can you talk about that time now?
Just did.
Okay.
For about 15
what about
minutes.
I'm asking about your music. What did you do that time, 2016? Anything interesting?
All right, so I'll try and tell you what happened in 2000, because it was a bit of a, what's the word? Like sea change, 2016. So I hadn't played in a proper band for quite a number of years, and I'd been busking all this sort of bluesy stuff, like this slide stuff, and I had all these sort of riffs, and because I'd never sung when I busked, I used to just improvise these tunes on the guitar with different open tunings and that kind of thing. And then when I did a gig, I would play my stuff, my songs, and a few covers and all that. So wasn't really doing any proper gigs, wasn't really doing much of anything really with music other than busking and teaching guitar. And
Here in Toruń?
No, this is in London.
Okay.
Yeah, so 2015, I ended up getting a band together, which was my normal 3-piece format, and you could say in a way that it was a precursor to Angry Town, actually. So it wasn't anything that I hadn't done before, and I'd gone out as a 3-piece band before and just used the name Sam Jones, and then maybe put in the listing in brackets band, to show that it wasn't me playing a solo electric or solo acoustic gig. It was actually with a band, and I had a couple of I wrote some songs while we were in rehearsals, because they were saying, let's just do something new. There's an Italian and a Sardinian fella who are both hairdressers. It's quite funny.
Did they do your hair?
One of them did. The drummer did actually give me a haircut, yeah. And the drummer was a little bit odd. He wasn't very good on the drummers either. I think he had a drug habit. So a couple of new songs came out of that, which I continued into Angry Town, and I continued playing them solo into the two tours in 2016. But at the end of 2016, actually the day before I took the coach to come and live in Poland, I decided to record 2 slide guitar tracks to sort of try and sort of concrete this style, and I did them with a drummer. So I can't remember what your question was now about the music during 2016. So anyway, someone who had been involved in this band, who was filming us and who actually helped contribute to one of the songs, he actually died. So when I came back from the first tour,
Angry Town 2?
No, 2016, before I moved to Poland, the tour of Europe. I didn't know, but he'd already died, basically, and I found out, and it did my head in. So I threw myself into recording some songs, and I did 4 demos in a rehearsal room on my own, where I played the drums, and again they became songs which I ended up doing with Angry Town. So basically for 2016 I'd done this gig at the 12 Bar Club in London. The end of 2015 with this Sam Jones band, and it kind of ended then, but some key songs came out of it, and I got to play some of the songs which I'd recorded a few years earlier, which had never been performed live. So in combination with that, with the 2 tours, with recording the 2 songs at the end of 2016, with these demos which I recorded in this break between the 2 tours, after finding out my friend had died, all of this stuff was a precursor really to the Angry Town project. So problem is with doing these things is the timeline is all over the place, and it's very difficult to follow.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
I know.
All right.
Things cross over.
Well, they do and they don't actually. It's just that I'm going from one thing to the other.
Yeah.
Which is not very helpful. So Angry Town. So I've moved to Poland in December 2016. I think it was January 2017. I was on the street busking, advertising my guitar lessons and my English lessons outside of a deserted shop, and there was a fella.
Where was it?
In Toruń, in the old town, opposite MPEG. And there's a fella there handing out leaflets who came up to me and asked if I wanted a hash tea.
Hash tea? What is it?
Marijuana tea.
Oh.
Because he'd opened the marijuana shop.
Oh, really?
His name was Simon. And he spoke good English because he lived in Ireland for about 5 years. He was quite a nice fella, and got talking to him, and he said, we talked about maybe me doing a gig in his shop. So I pursued it because I was really on to doing gigs, and I ended up doing quite a lot of gigs in January, February, March, April of 2017 around Poland. And he said, well, I'll tell you what, there's this sort of music collective in this house of culture in Nivkova, and there's lots of people I can introduce you to, and how about you do the gig there, because there's a lot of people interested in going to this gig at the shop, and the shop isn't big enough. So this place is called Magazine in Knivkova, so I ended up doing it there. The gig went down quite well, and I had one of my CDs, which I gave to him, because I did like these series of DIY CDs with my Camouflage Records fake record label, and these 2 songs which I recorded just before I moved, these 2 bluesy slide guitar tracks were on there. So there was a bit of a sort of interest in what I was doing, and this fella came up to me and said, do you need a band, because I'm a bass player and my friend over there at the back of the room, who I didn't meet, is a drummer. And there's also this other fella who seemed to be very interested in what I was doing with a ponytail, so all of these 3 people became members of Angry Town, basically. So I went back there and we did a rehearsal, and I had all these like unfinished songs, and I'd already had this idea of forming some sort of cover band and calling it something like 1977, and playing like the Clash and the Sex Pistols and all that. And I also had this idea that I wanted to play my own songs, these new songs with a drummer and a bass player, and there was a load of songs which I'd recorded in the past in London, which I wanted to play as well. So I was able to roll all of these ideas into one band. So Angry Town became a little bit against my will, became a bit of a Sam Jones tribute band, when really I wanted for it to be a bit more of a cover band and write some new songs. But they had heard some of my old stuff and they really wanted to play it. So it was kind of like the previous bands that I'd had as a 3-piece, the main ones were the Artist Rifles, the Berlin Lights, which was a studio project, and then there was this Sam Jones band, and there'd been a couple of other little short-lived things, and I'd been playing covers as well. So basically Angry Town was everything that I'd done before, all rolled into one as a new band, which was really good. So I put it all under the same thing.
Funny name.
And the Angry Town was basically, I had English lessons, Polish lessons, and I was giving English lessons to this girl who lived down the road when I got my first flat here in Toruń. And she had lived in this place called Shotton, where I said I went to school, and she was moving there. So we had this connection because she was going to the place where I was from and I was coming to the place where she was from. And she said, Angry Town, you mean? And I just thought, fuck, that's a brilliant name for a band. And I did my research on the internet, and there was no Facebook page, there was no .com, no one was using this name. And I thought, why isn't anyone using this name? It's so simple.
Yeah, Gniewkowo, meaning Angry Town in English.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So I've kept that name. So basically, so we did these rehearsals and we ended up playing some of my old stuff. I ended up playing some stuff that I'd never played live before. We added drums to some of these slidey songs which I'd been doing in my solo gigs. We added drums and bass. So I had quite a lot of, there was a lot of freshness to the band. So then we ended up getting some good support slots. We did, our first gig was supporting the Membranes, which is John Robb, the music journalist band, British band. The first official gig we were supposed to do was supporting Kobrenoska, and the gig had been postponed because of weather, because it was an outdoor gig. So that became our second gig. And let me talk, I'm giving you information.
Okay, sorry.
Right, this is interesting stuff. It doesn't matter, it's fine. So, first gig was Membranes, and they really liked our version of New Rose, Better Damned. Second gig was Kobrenoska. Third gig was End of the World, Konya.
I don't know.
What's End of the World in Polish?
End of the World, Koniec Świata.
Yeah, we supported them, and that was the the gig, which is now all over YouTube because we had it filmed properly, and then we sort of played. We did a few other things anyway, but we ended up doing what I thought was our best gig. Unfortunately, the audio recording, which I did on my phone, isn't very good. But we played our longest set, and we did a couple of my songs which were quite popular with people, which I'd never really performed live before.
How long?
I can't remember how many songs it was, but it was almost an hour, the set. And loads of people came to see us, and I thought, fuck, we're onto something here. We had all these like alternative people who'd come to see us, especially, and it was so fucking loud. And anyway, so there's a bit of video footage of it. So we did that, and I wanted to wind it down a bit, and because we had this plan of releasing New Rose as a single with a B-side as a 7-inch, so I said to everyone, right, this is going to be our last gig this year. We've got a single coming out. See you all next year, sort of thing. Thanks for your support, but we're not going to play in December. And we had this bass player who'd come along to try to help us out, and he kind of fucked things up for us, in my opinion. He kind of sabotaged it. When he joined, he rose the game massively because he's a good singer and a good player, and he learnt all the bass parts exactly as they were on the original tracks. And
what was his name?
Maybe I shouldn't name and shame people.
Okay.
But so he was brilliant when he came along. I couldn't say enough good things about him as a musician, but he, in my opinion, he sabotaged it, and so we ended up having a string of people having to stand in and to do some charity gigs at the beginning of 2018, and then it all ended in a big argument. But looking back on it, it was really me and Jacob, the drummer, the band from the beginning, because we had different people coming and going, and I even ended up having to play bass on the New Rose single because the bass player wasn't anywhere to be seen, So then I continued to use that name because I ended up doing a couple of tracks on my own where I played everything, and then I got this fella called Jed Lynn from the Stairs, who had been sort of in the background of Angry Town for the whole time, and the very, very first gig where I was going to use this name, Angry Town, it was going to be Sam Jones and the Angry Town, because I had the band in Poland going at the same time, which was just going to be Angry Town. Sorry.
When was it?
This was in 2017, a couple of months before we did our first gig here in Poland. And that, the drummer couldn't make it, and this Jed had worked out the bass lines. The bass player couldn't make it, and he'd worked out the bass lines for this bass player, so Jed ended up doing the bass. Jed is from a famous band called The Stairs. So we ended up doing this gig as Sam Jones and Jed Lynn as a duet, and that would have been the first Angry Town gig. So when the band split up, I went back to Jed, because Jed had been sort of in the background of this Angry Town thing before it had even started, really, and he was aware of everything that was going on, and so we ended up actually.
Sorry, how many gigs you did with?
There were 10 gigs with Angry Town in total. 10.
All over Poland.
So we did 7 gigs with the original lineup, which is me and Jacob, around this area really, and then later on, after the thing with Jed, and we did some new demos, and I did some new demos, all under this name Angry Town. These are yet to be included in an album or something. So I got a new band together with 2 completely new people and called it Angry Town, and the idea was we just copy the original concept of the band. So that was with Bart and Matt, and we did 3 gigs of a 11-date tour, something like that. So we
Which cities you visited?
Krakow.
Krakow, I
It
mean.
was a tour of Krakow.
Tour of Krakow.
And that was a bit embarrassing, really. I don't know if it did me any favours or the name Angry Town, but it kept
The name.
Yeah, so there's a total of 5 gigs that we did in 2018 as Angry Town, and that kept like the Angry Town brand alive, if you like.
So we are now in a place where you're after the tour with Bart and Matt, and now can you tell me what are your plans
Well,
for the nearest future?
I was quite happy just having a massive break from music and building this website and archiving everything I'd done, all these stories and stuff, so I wouldn't have to keep. So I was quite happy entering this year, 2019, as a sort of a year kind of archiving stuff for this website.
Can you tell the name of the website?
Yeah, samjonesofficial.net, and also I've got angrytown.net. So I've been working on these 2 websites, just compiling anything which is already online, putting links to things which are already online, going through photos, audio, text, which I've written over the years. So I don't have to sort of explain myself really, so people can just go on there. So then if I do get the odd gig, then I can sort of give it some history, or people won't sort of quiz me about what I've done, or who the hell are you? Well, I can say, well, I'm nobody really, but you can see what I've done, and actually there's no denying the fact, because there's a photo of me doing it, or there's a video of me doing what I'm talking about, or whatever. So
you're really a modest guy, as I can see. You don't like to brag about yourself.
Well, I've got lots of things which I didn't realise actually how much I've done. So basically this year I ended up doing a gig by accident, purely by accident. I had no intention of chasing gigs or speaking to venues, because I just got pissed off with it. And I was away on holiday with a loner, and I asked if I could play somewhere because we were running out of money, and they agreed to let me play. And then after I did that gig, I thought, fuck, I could do with some more of this. And so now I've got this other gig coming up at the Hard Rock Cafe in Antwerp, and
Belgium, right?
yeah, and I got plans to complete an Angry Town album using that name rather than my own name, from some unfinished sessions from when I lived in London, some sessions which I did quite recently with Jed last year, and hopefully get Jacob back, the original Angry Town drummer, to play on some of the tracks as well, and add some backing vocals, and try and do some sort of launch, and just see if there's any interest in the band again, and just join that up to all the stuff that's already out there online. And then I've got this retrospective album, which is like an ongoing album. I've added an extra 4 tracks to the original version, which was released to sort of promote Angry Town, because we were playing a lot of those songs, but I wanted to do it under my own name. And every time I do a new issue of this album, it has entirely different bonus tracks on it, on the CD.
Can I buy it somewhere?
Yes, Bandcamp.
Bandcamp.
If you go to the Angry Town Bandcamp, or if you go to camouflagerecords.bigcartel.com, you can buy it on CD, or you can buy the CD at my gigs. So emphasis on the old school CD format, and I plan in the future to get the main album part of the album, not the bonus tracks, remastered for iTunes. So it will eventually end up on iTunes, but at the moment I'm adding more and more tracks to it, so it's relevant to what I'm playing. I don't intend to remove any of the tracks, so I want to bring people's attention to all of these songs, and keep it separate from what I'm doing on the Angry Town album, rather than issuing all these sort of separate CDs, under different, all these names, live in Poland or live. So if I feel like there's anything worth people hearing, I'm going to add it to this retrospective album. So doing this one gig in Belgium's given me like fresh.
Will you be
eyes
selling
and ears.
those CDs in Belgium?
Yes, yeah. So it's 50 copies of this second edition of
Small batch.
Yeah, and
Limited.
this one's got a proper cover on it as well, and also
Will you
because
be signing those?
I can do, but I
Okay, so fans can come up after this gig in Antwerp. So any people living in Antwerp, Belgium, go to Sam Jones, see him playing, and then you can buy his retrospective album signed.
Yeah, strictly limited edition, and I'm expanding the liner notes of this online because of printing restrictions. I've decided that all the information about the album, who's playing on every track, who produced every track, who mixed it, the year it was recorded, where it was recorded, the name of the band it was recorded with, etc., etc. All of that information is on samjonesofficial.net/retrospective album. So that's, you've got your online album notes, which I'm continually adding to, and it just gives the whole thing some sort of history, and you can listen to all the tracks on there as well for free. So
Okay, so basically wrapping up, you can see you in Antwerp soon. You can buy a CD copy after the gig signed, or you can go to the website and buy it online, right?
yeah,
Okay, thank you for the talk. I got only one final question for you, and it's a tricky one.
yeah.
From all the countries you have visited,
Yeah.
which one you like the best, and why is it Poland?
Why is it Poland? Well, I thought Poland was the best at the time, and it's the first place that I've lived abroad, and it was quite a big decision, I suppose, to move from London. It didn't seem like it at the time, so I sort of sacrificed that kind of slightly pretentious lifestyle that I had in London, where you can be really anonymous and no one knows your business, and you can work for cash, and you can really like reinvent yourself and all that stuff. And I sort of sacrificed that to come and live in a small town in Poland, and it really made sense at the time. And it's, when I go back to London, I see the homeless people and the drug addicts and how it isn't working really, and it's not the London that I moved to, or the London from the 60s or the 70s that you see on TV. Then I realise why Poland is possibly so much better for someone like me, but it doesn't always feel that way, and sometimes I really miss it. But if it wasn't for Poland, I think I would have moved to somewhere like Belgium, and I still have this big attraction towards Belgium, and I don't know where that comes from.
Because of the Belgian chocolate, the best
Could-
chocolate
that's
in the
what
world.
it is, yeah.
Yeah.
So I still enjoy going to Belgium. It's very laid back, and I can actually see a time where a lot of British people might actually come to live in places like Poland. So feel sorry for you lot. But I can see a time in the future where people start to consider these places like Czech Republic, Poland, Hungary as actually really good.
Because of all the immigrants.
Yes.
And fights.
Don't
and
put that on
the
there.
police.
I'll have hate
Yeah.
comments.
Because actually UK was very friendly for immigrants, and right now they have a huge problem.
Well, it was a sort of experiment, wasn't it, that got out of hand, really.
Yeah, and the Brexit thing.
Yeah.
Funny story for you. The French minister has a cat, and she called him Brexit.
Right.
Because he's standing in an open door, wanting to go out and meowing about it.
Yeah, that's more. Yeah. I could say that this is what I used to tell people when I left London is that if I was to write a list of pros and cons about living in London, the list of pros would be as long as your arm. There's so many amazing things about living in a place like London. But the list of cons would be as long as 3 arms, because there's so much shit that you have to put up with on a daily basis, whether it's buying toilet paper in a shop, just the shit that you have to deal with, the noise, the deprivation, and it still has this like Dickensian Oliver Twist feel about it. When you rent a flat, it's going to be damp, it's going to be noisy, you're going to get your deposit kept by the landlord and all this sort of stuff. But then you come to a place like Poland, the list of pros about living here is maybe as long as your finger, but then the list of cons is very minimal, so you don't get that excitement that you got in a place like London, but you don't live on edge all the time, so you're much more relaxed.
But you're comparing a small town to a big city.
Yeah.
Can you compare London to Warsaw?
Never really spent any time in Warsaw, so I can't say.
Because I used to live in Warsaw.
Yeah.
And I know that the same problems that London have, the Warsaw also have.
Yeah. But then I think the thing with London is it's not just London, it's widespread across all the cities in the UK. The homelessness, the drug addicts, and we've got this massive problem, if you want to call it a problem, with political correctness, which you don't have here in Poland.
But we've got a religion police now.
Right.
Yeah. And I feel like a Vatican citizen more than Polish citizen right now.
Right. I don't know about that because I'm not a part of it.
I don't watch TV. I don't listen to radio, the mainstreams, and maybe that's why I'm healthier.
I stopped watching all that stuff as well when I came here because I'd always have access to a TV, and you just get bombarded with it. If you went into a cafe or something, they might have the TV on, or a pub, and there'll be breaking news.
Have you seen the newest top YouTube video of Sekielski brothers?
No.
About the Polish church.
Oh yeah, this is the one I was watching yesterday.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's
well, there must be loads of stuff going on.
Big, huge problem in Poland.
Yeah.
Because mainstream media are with the politicians steering them and are being scared.
Yeah.
Not telling the truth. And actually, Sekielski brothers were funded by citizens.
Yeah.
They, started this fundraise to make this documentary.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And they managed to be very objective.
Yeah.
Very going to the roots of journalism, actually.
Yeah.
Showing the story.
Yeah.
Taking
non-bias.
Taking the story that actually no one wanted to, get touch with.
Yeah.
And
well, we have people, some interesting people in the UK now. But the thing is, that you're recording this,
Yeah.
is that because I'm British, and I don't know what you're gonna use of this at the moment. I want to check it before you do anything with it.
Okay.
But I can't even talk about those people because I will get branded, and it would affect my career, if you like.
Yeah.
And this is a problem with the UK that you don't have in Poland, because there are names which I could mention, and if I am even so much as associated with those names, promoting them or agreeing with them, the career over. And I've had people try to slander me on the internet for sharing a post or something on Facebook, and they go straight to the Angry Town page, and they try and people who I've worked with, like famous people, they've gone straight to them and said, "Do you know this guy? Do you know that he's blah, 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 blah?" And I learned my lesson. I had an incident last year where I shared something. I didn't say how I felt. I just shared a funny post. It was about Donald Trump. And it almost could have killed any chance of me working with certain people, and I never said I agreed with it or didn't agree with it, or all I did was share something. So people in the UK are extremely brainwashed.
But you're a public person, right? You're famous.
Technically, I'm not famous, but I'm
infamous.
I'm a public figure when I choose to be.
Okay.
If I put myself, but I'm not only for 24 hours. Yeah, I'm not permanently in people's hearts and minds.
Yeah, but in Poland, it's starting to be the same. Really, you cannot say bad words about certain person and his crew, because you will get an army of haters on internet putting shit on you.
I didn't think it existed here.
And the woman that she drew a picture of this like a copy of this painting, where there is a mother of Jesus with him on the laps, the famous
the
picture, and she added
flag,
this rainbow on her head. She was, dragged out of her house like early in the morning by a squad of police officers.
Wow,
They threw her on the ground.
Really?
She's an old woman, and she was dragged out of her house and put in a arrest.
Really?
Yeah, that's
mad.
It's a big thing now, and also they try to censor the art. One painting where a woman is eating a banana, which is a painting I think from 70s, was taken down from the museum because someone got offended. And it's
starting here then. It's a bit different now because it's more against the church and that sort of thing.
But the banana wasn't anything to do with the church. Somebody just got offended by the picture, and they had to take it down because
But at least it's kind of rational in a way, because I'm not saying I agree with it, but the laws and the attacks that you get in the UK and the witch hunting and all that is going against people like who are trying to do good. So say if, for example, don't use this, but say if somebody defends some children who were raped by a Muslim gang and looks into the case to find more information about a Muslim grooming gang, they will get attacked by supposed left-wing people who are meant to be liberal, open-minded people, and accused of being racist. That's the
So-
which is absolute craziness.
So if I want justice because my child was raped by a
or
Muslim,
killed, or
yeah,
then
I'll
you're a
be
racist.
accused of a.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fucked up.
that is absolute madness, and that is like
I wanna
Poland's
wrap
got-
up the file.
Yeah.
We can talk. So, thank you, Sam, for sharing all of this story with us. And what I can do is ask you to visit his website and look for his gigs. Thank you again.